Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Truthbusters Live, our new time slot at Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 o'clock on the Eastern Time. Joining us with us is our producer, as always, from British Columbia, Nicholas London. Nick, thank you for tonight. Our co-host, CUEBALL Carmichael, could not make it tonight. He had a family emergency. Doesn't sound too serious, so our thoughts and prayers go out to him. And instead of scrubbing the show, I got on the phone and got a nationally syndicated radio host to join us at the quarter of the hour, Bruce Dumont of the Bruce Dumont Network and the show Beyond the Beltway. I've been on his show many times. He is heard all over the country, especially in Washington, D.C. So really, really excited that Bruce is coming on the show. Folks, I really don't know, how to really spell it out for you. For the better part of 4 months, we have talked on this show that the election coming up this Tuesday is without a doubt the most consequential presidential election that we've had in probably 100, 150 years in this country. For the simple fact is that, in my opinion, and many other people's opinion, that the Democrats at this point show this almost, I would say, evangelical obsession with the hatred of Trump, the hatred of Republicans, the hatred of rule of law. We have gone where congregating at your church is bad. That will cause the COVID to spread. But rioting and throwing bricks through an AT&T window on Michigan Avenue in Chicago, COVID won't spread. Don't worry about it. You go ahead and do it. I'm 53 years old. Most people that are diehards of this show know that, I've ran for Congress. I ran for state rep in '97. Kellyanne Conway being my political consultant. I was her first client ever in her political consulting firm. I'm not saying that to impress you, but to impress upon you that my run for Congress, state rep, governor of the state of Illinois a year and a half ago, believe me, I've ratted on myself. I'm in the know, and I know everything. And I've said this before. I'm one of those guys in Illinois. If I decide to talk, which I never would because I'm a mensch, and that's Yiddish for, you tell me something, it's in the vault. I've been to the parties. My wife and I have been to the cocktail parties. We've met the weirdos, the perverts, the dreamers, all in politics, and we know everything. If I talk in Illinois, all the dominoes fall, sincerely, and I'm not the only one. I'm not going to do that. I'm simply telling you that I am, for lack of a better word, and you may roll your eyes, I am a normalized but political insider. And I have never in my life, and I read 15 to 30 articles a day. I probably discuss politics off the record and with other politicians and insiders 5 to 10 hours a week. I have never seen the other side, the Democrats, and I'm a libertarian. I've never seen the Republicans, but I've never seen the Democrats so vicious, so lost, so one-track minded in my life. And frankly, it scares me. And it scares me because they have co-opted the media in the media gag on the Hunter Biden laptop, which we will discuss again tonight. I have sat there for the past 10 days with my wife and I. We have a routine in the morning. We've got one of those hospital type beds. We put it up. We get coffee. We watch Good Morning America. I've sat there for 10 days with her as my sidekick and the person that could, be my devil's advocate. We've watched the little pipsqueak, George Stephanopoulos, who I think is becoming one of the most evil human beings in America, simply for the fact that he's got this massive viewing audience and he is putting basically a gag order on any anti-Biden story. I mean, we will talk about this later in the show when Bruce comes on. This is a fundamental precept of our founding fathers and of this country. The freedom of the press. The freedom of the press to be objective, whether they like a candidate or not. This isn't killing a story about a candidate who, got drunk at a block party and, ran over somebody's dog, something stupid like that. We're killing stories. We're gag order stories where the director of national intelligence is telling you that it isn't Russia, that this is a true story. We're insiders. Where yesterday, a Navy officer with a Q clearance. Now, I'm a conspiracy guy. I have a conspiracy podcast. You're watching it now. Q clearance, you can hear alien information. You can see alien information. You can examine alien wreckage. I know this from insiders, a Q clearance. The next clearance to that is cosmic, and we don't even know who really has that. A Navy officer, businessman with a Q clearance telling Tucker Carlson on Fox News that Joe Biden was in the meetings discussing Burisma and the Chinese deal, and that Hunter Biden's business partner is the head Chinese spy. Gag order. That should have broke everywhere. So we're watching, and I'm going to ramble a little bit. So about 2 or 3 days ago, it was actually last Friday after the debates, we watched NBC. Savannah Guthrie gets on, and she goes, "Good morning, everybody. Well, after the debates, the candidates start barnstorming the country." Joe Biden was in his basement that morning. That's a fact from his campaign. Trump is barnstorming. But we're told that Biden is barnstorming also because, if you're a regular American working, 50, 60 hours a week, putting food on your table, paying your taxes, raising your kids, doing the right thing, you might not have time to go on the internet and watch TV. So you turn on Savannah Guthrie and you're a little worried that Joe Biden, doesn't have the stamina to be president of the United States and the leader of the free world. Some say the hardest job in the world. And you're thinking, oh, he's barnstorming. He's healthy, vibrant, and, it's not Weekend at Bernie's, where his campaign aides are holding up his skull and, waving with a string on his hand, because that's what it is. And I turned to my wife. I said, are you listening to this? Then George Stephanopoulos today talks about a story from the DOJ concerning Trump and taxes and the same. So when there's a story from a government department against Trump, oh, that's the first news from Pipsqueak Joe and Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. Have you seen Morning Joe on MSNBC? The $5 million arm piece, Mika Brzezinski, she just looks like this. All morning she was like this. Hearing Joe Biden, hearing Joe Scarborough, her husband, and I like Joe. I do. Talk about, one thing after another of Trump, and Mika just sits there. I felt like a 7-year-old coming home, and my mom found the lamp that I broke and the cookie jar empty, and Mika's just sitting there at the door welcoming Jon Stewart with that tisk tisk tisk. $5 million to do that. And it goes on and on. An anti-Joe Biden little blurb, and it's backed up and defended by George Stephanopoulos and Scarborough and Rachel Maddow. I mean, this is crazy. You have the former assistant U.S. attorney, mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani, the president of the United States. You have Hunter Biden's business partners. The laptop is in the FBI hands now, telling you about emails where it clearly points out Joe Biden's knowledge of all of the shenanigans in the Chinese payment system, which is, if you're a politician, the kids get the money and then you live off the kids. That's how this has happened. The Clintons, the Bidens, and this is on and on. It's the Chinese payment scheme, and it goes on with the Bidens. The Washington Post has the chutzpah to do a story. The Wall Street Journal this morning is now on the trail. Fox News, of course. But where's MSNBC? Where's CNN? Where's Good Morning America and the Today Show? Nothing. You mean to tell me that the FBI has the laptop. Hunter Biden signed for the laptop. I'm not getting off on a rant here. Hunter Biden signs for the laptop. His lawyers ask for the laptop back. It's witnessed by Rudy Giuliani and Trump, and they're telling you that that's not a news story. Hold on. I need water. I should have prepared better. We're going to do this in break. But that's not a news story. Not a news story. What's the news story is, Kamala goes in front of 5 people. It's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. And I am telling you, being a amateur historian, and forgive me for pausing because it's upsetting to me, truly. Being an amateur historian, knowing the predictions of George Orwell in his book 1984, seeing the tech oligarchs like Facebook, Zuckerberg, Twitter, just complete gag order on a laptop of a president's son who is getting money from foreign governments. It's proven now. Alleged pedophilia on this laptop. And there's no news story. There's not even a blurb. I mean, that to me scares the living daylights out of me, because I'm going to tell you something. We've made predictions on the show. You're looking at the guy, and I'm bragging now. When the stock market crashed in March, we have a timestamp 12 hours before it happened. I'm the only one in the media that told you tomorrow morning the stock market is going to crash, and it did. I warned you.
Quick, John, I want to say they can hear me, that I can verify this for people, that you and Q both said that on this show. It was going to crash, and 12 hours later, it did just that. Continue,
we do things like research. We do things like fact check. Little things that the media. But you're having a media gag order on Hunter Biden's laptop. You're not getting any negative story on is probably one of the scariest predicaments I have ever seen in democracy in America. Right now, joining us, he is the host of Beyond the Beltway, nationally syndicated radio and talk show. He has been a good friend of mine. I've been on his show, I think, 5 times now. Hopefully I have time to share a very funny story. But if you wanted to pick the brain of somebody, just a gentleman, a person that gets it, person that is objective and sees both sides, because I've gotten into him with him on several issues. It's this man. We go live now to my good friend and the host of Beyond the Beltway, Bruce Dumont. Bruce, are you there?
John, I am, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you.
Thank you. And I just want to let everybody know, Bruce, at like the last minute, he is not like our Tony Randall go-to mess on the Carson show. We've got a list of like 20 people that we want on the show. Mark Kirk, a couple of other people, and Bruce is on that list too. So, Bruce, thank you so much on behalf of myself and our viewers and my co-host for coming on. Bruce, you heard a little bit of my opening. Am I wrong to think that, and I'm not asking you to go, start throwing, arrows. Am I wrong to tell people that this media, so to speak, gag order is actually quite alarming?
It's very alarming, and I think one of the big things, regardless of who wins the election, I think there has to be a transformation of American media, because they really have done a very a bad job, a disservice to the American people, because they were not able even to pretend that they were neutral in this campaign. It was just nonstop hatred of Donald Trump, looking for every negative story they could possibly find. and I think the American people see it. I think they understand it, and I think, frankly, a lot of them are going to rebel against it come Tuesday.
Bruce, we try and ask well thought out questions here on this show. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to go to another topic. I want to stay with us here. Stay with us on this and dig in. When you tell me that there should be a transformation in the media, which I 1,000% agree, explain to me, if you can, how is that going to happen? Is it going to be Jon Stewart and his penny loafers at City Hall with a poster? Is it are we talking a quiet revolution? Are we Twitter? How will this, do you think, take place?
I think what has to happen is there has to be a focus. First of all, the number of people that agree with you, John, virtually the American talk radio industry virtually agrees with you 100%. So you're not alone. So there's a lot of people that would like to see a more balanced approach. Now, one thing that's going on in the world of media right now, and that is what's happening at Fox News. Regular listeners and viewers of Fox News will know that Fox News is a little bit different than it was 3 months ago or 6 months ago or 9 months ago.
Okay.
They're trying to broaden their base a little bit. They're trying to obviously play to a conservative base, but they're not quite as knee-jerk reaction to conservative issues as they were several months ago.
That's a fair assessment. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you are upset with that, everyone should focus their attention on the decision makers at Fox. I mean, literally, you go to the Murdoch family, you go to the people that own Fox, and you remind them that you've been a long-time listener because of what you expect from Fox, and that you appreciate it. And if they fool around too much with the product, they're going to lose you as a customer. And I guess the other thing is, if it ain't broke, why fix it? And I think a lot of people are tinkering around with what they see there, and they've got to remind people. And the other thing on the positive side is remind people of how much you like Tucker Carlson and what Tucker Carlson is doing on Hunter Biden. It's amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, Bruce, your family has been in network TV. I mean, you are not only a political guru, but you are a media a guru, as also someone I look up to, and I don't mind saying that. I mean, sending letters or emails to ABC or the producers of Good Morning America, is that? I mean, I'm not maligning this. I mean, I'm asking, is that going to work?
Well, I think it has. I think it has to be consistent. But again, the other thing is, in the most recent ratings, Tucker Carlson had the highest audience of anyone in the history of cable news. This is like last week. So the people that run Fox, they appreciate that. Obviously, they're aware of it. They know that there's money there. They know that there's viewers there. They have to be reminded of how much people like what Tucker Carlson is doing, and they'd like to see more of it. They don't want to see.
Are you hearing this, folks? What to put in your email?
And I think that's what they have to do, because the first thing you could do is, when you write a letter to someone, if you start your conversation by saying you want to congratulate them on doing something, that's positive. People like to get a positive reinforcement. If it starts on the negative, then you may lose some people that you don't want to turn off. So I'm just saying is that when something is going right on Fox News, you want to keep Fox News where it is, and you want to keep reminding them that the audience that likes Tucker Carlson and Sean and the others, it's there. And don't muck with that audience. Don't play around with this by trying to change the political ingredients in the program.
Of course, and Bruce, you know this more than anybody. In the media, money talks, ratings talk. I know this from being a former professional wrestler, and knowing media, and I'm sure, and I know you do too. And yeah, when they start seeing a ratings dip, you start seeing Tucker Carlson, and now you've getting this influx of emails, and you're seeing it on Twitter, if they let it. Yeah, I think we can have definite change. Let's switch to the presidential race, Trump and Biden. Game plan this out for us. We heard in the poll last time, the polling, it's over. Hillary's going to win. They claim, maybe you can elaborate on this. They claim they've got much more, hard-hitting polling data. I asked Kellyanne Conway about this a month ago. I got the eye roll, like, do you really believe them? And I agree with her. But game plan this, Bruce. I mean, you are the wise man on the hill. Game plan. What do you think is going to happen in the next 4 or 5 days, and what are we going to see on Tuesday night?
Well, I think you're going to see everybody, whether they're right or left, whether they're for pro-Trump or pro-Biden. Everyone is going to be analyzing and spinning the polls.
Yeah.
Everyone will find a poll. There will be something in some poll that somebody will think represents, a movement in one direction or the other, and they'll spin that. So, and again, everyone at this moment, nobody knows what's going to happen next week.
Right.
No one. Zero. So the point is, you let it go in one ear, you let it go out the other ear. You will remember that a lot of it that we're hearing now, we heard 4 years ago.
Right.
And every time you hear a story that says, there's no way that Donald Trump could win. The one thing I would say in recent weeks, and as recently as today, when I was going through, my email and Facebook and everything else, is I am picking up from journalists and from those who I know are Democratic spinmeisters.
Okay.
They're spinning a story that's going to cover their rear ends. They're not emphatically saying that this race is over. I think the Biden people are frankly scared. I think they're scared because they're worrying about what happened 4 years ago, and they're also realizing that from the number of people who did not vote 4 years ago, 100 million people did not vote. 100 million people.
It's incredible.
They didn't vote. That's an incredible. To me, that is, it isn't an undecided vote. It's an unknown vote. And how many of those people are going to turn out and vote? Now, we don't know who they're going to vote for, but I would say that they probably would be more likely to go with Trump because he has shaken up the establishment over the last 4 years. And
Sure.
I think those that tend not to vote tend to be a little more anti-establishment than establishment types.
Right. Well, let's continue that. Again, one thing I love about this show, we take get the shovel, we start digging again. So let's kind of do like a little bit of a lightning round here, Bruce, on what you just said. So, if you can, first of all, I'm a libertarian. I used to be a Republican. It doesn't matter at this point. The fact that we are going to have the greatest turnout of voters in American history is awesome. And that does make me happy. I said it before on the show. Yeah, right. Abraham Lincoln, his biggest fear was, his biggest fear privately was an autocratic government. An autocratic government is when everyone's on the couch telling the government, do whatever you have to. And we're not seeing that anymore. And I think that's great. Okay, so let's do a little lightning round here. Bruce, he won Michigan and Wisconsin 4 years ago. Why would he lose it now?
Couple of reasons.
I don't see it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, a couple of reasons. 2 years ago, each state had a Republican governor.
Okay.
Each state now has a Democratic governor.
Okay.
That's number one. The polls, again, I'm quoting the polls because you gotta factor that in.
Sure.
The polls in each state don't look good for him right now. Of course, that could go either way. And I just think that 4 years ago, Donald Trump snuck up on people.
Okay.
He surprised everybody. Now the Democrats, I think, they've been waiting for 400 or 4 years now to get even with Donald Trump. So he's not an unknown, and I think the Democrats will they'll shake up their constituents to come out and vote against him.
Pennsylvania, do you think we're too late as far as the pre-voting? Because you have Kamala and Biden basically saying the oil industry's over, fracking, we're gonna, it's done. I've never seen someone destroy himself or herself more in a state than the past 3 or 4 days in Pennsylvania.
No, you're
Bruce,
right.
Elaborate on this. Is there? Do we have a possibility that it doesn't matter? Do we have a possibility
No, I think it does matter, and I think that Joe Biden made a big mistake in that debate. The president caught him at the end, and I think it's gonna play dividends. And just to come back to what I said, although I do not believe that Donald Trump is going to win Wisconsin and Michigan again, I think Donald Trump is probably going to win Pennsylvania. I think that's the key because he is putting an awful lot of time there. And Pennsylvania is a very conservative state, at least in the middle of the state. And the riots they're having in Philadelphia, that's not going to bring much ease to people who are watching Philadelphia television every night.
Right. And the manufacturing jobs coming back, that's got to play well for him in Ohio. I agree with you, Bruce. And, Pennsylvania, it might very well go Trump. I think he's got Florida. And that's really the whole kit and caboodle. What is your take on Florida? Is Biden in play there?
I think we're going to know. I mean, although the ultimate results may not be known on election night, here's the way I would view it. Look at those states that are in the Eastern time zone. North Carolina and Florida should both be in the early wave of states that give their results. Florida is very sophisticated in the way they count votes, a big difference in their history. So I think Florida and North Carolina will be results. Now, if Donald Trump should lose either of those states, it's over for him. Now, the last state that is important to him, at least in the early stage, is Pennsylvania. Now, Pennsylvania is in the Eastern time zone, but again, in Pennsylvania, people can count votes for 4 or 5 days after the election. So we may not know, unless it's a big move, we may not know who wins Pennsylvania. So at the end of the night, people may go to bed waiting to see who wins Pennsylvania, because the whole ball game could be Pennsylvania. Now, again, if Donald Trump, trips up and, for instance, loses Georgia, I think it's all over. But again, I think after that first wave of Eastern time zone votes, when they come in, you're pretty much going to be able to make a very educated guess of what the likely results are going to be, because most of the case they will be an overlay of what happened in 2016, where Biden is going to win Hillary's states and Trump will hold on to his states. And again, one of the states, obviously, that he held on to, he basically went over the top 4 years ago when he carried Pennsylvania as a surprise winner there.
I mean, this is the reason why we have awesome guests like you. I mean, you're really one of the first national radio hosts and media persons to talk about that Georgia might be in play for the Democrats. It's huge. I mean, Bruce, I cannot thank you enough for being on our show. I hope I will be fortunate enough to come back on your show again and we can talk.
You will.
You are one of my favorites. in politics. Everybody, please, once again, the nationally syndicated radio host, Bruce Dumont. Bruce, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a break here, pay some bills, and we'll be back.
One quick,
Go
if
ahead,
I can
Bruce.
offer
Sure.
one quick question. Are you still
Absolutely. Yes, we are.
there? On election night, I will be anchoring election results on WIND radio. Tune in on WIND, and you'll hear my comments as well as the latest numbers from around the nation.
Fantastic. Bruce, thank you again. We'll be right back.
Thanks.
Truthbusters Live, Thursday night edition, 7 o'clock. Wow, what a show. We still got a half hour left. We're going to talk about so much other things. Hunter Biden. We might go off on a tangent. Who knows? I don't have a co-host today. I'm flying this plane by myself. Stay with us. We'll be right back. It's Truthbusters Live. And we're back, Truthbusters Live, Thursday night edition. Thank you. Wanted to thank our guest again, Bruce Dumont. I mean, folks, we have good guys on this, good men and women guests on this show. I have a very quick, funny story before we get into our next segment here. When I did Bruce Dumont's show, which is nationally syndicated, we went into a break, and the producer was sitting to the right of us, and I said to him, you know, I'm not being an egomaniac here, but I'm shocked that nobody, since it's going around the country, that nobody's called in. I was a bad guy in wrestling. You know, nobody's called in, you know, wanting to talk to me and tell me I'm a piece of crap and I shouldn't have hit Sergeant Slaughter with a chair. And the producer stops me and he goes, they have been calling. I just haven't put them through. And all the guys, it was a very heated debate. But everybody around the table and Bruce, I mean, we just all broke character off air and laughed. And Bruce is, we always try and give great advice on this show too, and got a lot of young listeners, a lot of college age listeners. My brother-in-law's father had a great quote. You know, show me your friends, I'll show you who you are. So it is important to have people in your life that raise the bar on your own life. And the guy we just had on, Bruce Dumont, is one of those guys. Just a consummate gentleman, intelligent, kind, nice, and I can't say enough about him. So little piece of advice there. Show me your friends, I'll show you who you are. Okay, back. Now, I still wanted to talk about this media gag because, in my opinion, for the first time again in American history, we have almost a third. In sports, like in football, we call it the audience is the 12th man on the field. And with the political climate today, where we have a huge segment of the media that is purposely sandbagging stories, not reporting on stories, the hypocrisy, like I said in the opening of the show, where the DOJ says something's legit, they don't care. The DOJ says something is legit about Trump. Oh, that's the lead story. And that just cannot work in a free society. When I first ran for politics, I had a campaign manager that really we went into great depths about the Constitution and, telling me that, the founding fathers wanted this living, breathing document, that could be changed. And okay, we're back 5 months doing this show. That has never, ever happened. So when I talk about in the past, and my host Q talks about the past, these weird, anomalous things, my wife has told me that our desktop computer goes on in the middle of the night. CUEBALL, my host, had his laptop crash 3 times. Here we're talking about a order, folks. I swear, I did nothing. Our producer did nothing. It was from our New York affiliate, Triple T Radio. So I apologize for going blank there. But as we went out, whether you heard me or not, I cannot implore to you, as a person who's been in politics, who is media savvy, who is a amateur historian, how important an opportunity is. I don't know, we need to hear the objective truth on every one of our candidates. That is the only thing that is going to keep this country on the right track of freedom and liberty. And I hope after this election, like our host Bruce Dumont said, we will have a readjustment period in our media. God only knows. And I am getting this is live radio, so I'm getting in my ear that we actually have a caller. I didn't even know we had a call line. So wait a minute. Okay, from Parkridge, Illinois, we have Paula on the line. Paula, are you there?
Hey, John, I'm here. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you. Where did you the call-in line? I'm glad you use it. This is like, I think, one of our second or third calls. See, Apollo, Will, the intern, he's supposed to bring me water. Doesn't show up today. No water. Doesn't tell me we have a call-in line. Whatever. It's live TV. So what can Truthbusters do for you today? What's on your mind?
Oh boy. I mean, where do I start, right, John? I mean, these are just crazy times, and what an unbelievable year. But I don't know about you. Everybody I talk to, it's all about the election and it's all about COVID. And,
sure.
I'm still trying to navigate how to keep my senses about me because it can become overwhelming.
We're good on the show with digging. So, without being a therapist here, it's how is explain. It says I'm reading on the screen here. You're an executive with a cellular company. Whether you want to tell us or not, that's up to you. So how is it? What is wearing on you? The drama of the president's race or the COVID lockdown? Tell us.
All of the above. First of all, let's just touch base on COVID. Everybody has their own opinion. Of course, COVID exists. I know people, I know friends, I know business associates, family that have had COVID. And guess what? At the end of the day, it's a virus. And it just infuriates me how every day it's always all about COVID and the amount of cases, and the facts are the facts, meaning if you're testing more, of course, you're going to have more cases. But there's this sense of, depending on who you talk to, one side of the country, there's panic. the other side of the country, you've got small business owners, these restaurants that are shutting down. I picked up Chinese food tonight for my family.
Horrible.
And this Chinese place that I go to is always packed to the rafters, and they're only doing takeout. How do these people survive, right?
You don't. You don't.
No, you do not. And so, so that kind of, for me, bleeds into, I'm not going to hide from the fact that I am a Trump supporter. Do I agree with all of his tactics? Of course not. Right. But I don't think the facts allow much argument in given what he's done. And it infuriates me, when you talk about the media, and I know journalists that are in the business. Okay. And any big story deserves reporting, deserves investigation.
Absolutely.
Right? And so let's, why aren't we not hearing about all of the peace treaties he signed? That's a big ass deal, excuse my French. That's a big deal. We have a president that doesn't want to go to war. Number one.
What is Israel and Saudi Arabia, I believe, have signed a peace agreement.
Syria.
This would be, if Obama did this, accomplish this.
Oh, there'd be a parade all over the place.
You have the ABC. This is an ABC News, alert, and But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So there's that, right? So there's that. Right. And then there's the whole fiasco of, shall we even go there? Well, why not, right?
Sure.
Because nobody else is. I just saw a Twitter feed about a half hour ago from several reliable journalists that I follow, that the DOJ has now formally stated that there has been an open FBI case still under investigation with the whole Hunter and Biden family fiasco.
They've had the laptop since December.
Since 2019, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So we've got a guy that might, I have faith in the guy above, so he won't, but he might run our country. And he and his entire family are under investigation. How is that allowed? And liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, I don't give a crap who. How is the American population not demanding the facts on this? And why is the media not reporting it?
Well, here's the
scratching my head.
Yeah, I agree with you, and forgive me for cutting you off. But here's the problem. This isn't Little House on the Prairie anymore. I'm not saying this to be snarky to you. I'm saying this out loud, like, oh, shoot. We can't go to the Village Hall really anymore. We can't march. We can't knock on the White House door like they did 150 years ago. This is so frustrating when you have Twitter and Facebook, canceling accounts and kicking people off and squashing stories. You tell me, where do we go? How do we complain?
Well, first of all, I think it starts with a couple of things. The American population has to grow a set of their own and start demanding, get really, really loud. That's number one.
Right.
If the folks, if your listeners are not calling in to their congressmen, to their mayors, to all of their political realms that they report up to, depending where they live, shame on all of you, right? Yeah. Because this is your fundamental right as a citizen of this great
Absolutely.
Nation. Number one. Number two, you got to get out and vote. You got to get out to vote. I have literally been harassing my family and friends, and don't wait till November 3rd, because here's the other prediction. I had an epiphany, and that is November 3rd comes along, and all of those voters that just wait till November 3rd. Well, let me paint you a little picture. You're going to get to your precinct office, and everybody's got to be in line, and they're all going to be socially distanced, so that line is going to look like it's wrapped around the building 3 times.
It's going to look like you're trying to get One Direction tickets.
Yeah, and I fear how many of those folks are going to just drive on by saying, no, I can't wait. I got to get to work, or I got to go wherever. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. So go, for the listeners out there, go vote. Go vote. I can't tell you who to vote for, but go vote. So that's the whole thing. And then on top of that, of course, we get back to this whole COVID thing and not getting credit for how I believe, in an unprecedented pandemic, how we handled it. We did it as best we can. We inherited a nightmare. I mean, I don't know of many presidents that would go to the private sector and start getting masks built and ventilators made and all of that. Nobody's talking about that.
Right. And Paula, you're from the Chicago area, and I was aghast at our Chicago mayor, Lori Lightfoot. I won't use any derogatory terms about her because we're trying to have decorum on this show.
Why not? Everybody else does.
Right. Well, I'll let everyone else do that. But not closing O'Hare Airport to international travel for, I think, 3 weeks blows my mind. You keep you keep the pipeline of Chicago, of international travelers. I mean, people aren't coming over to Ellis Island on a boat from Europe and then driving to Chicago. They all came through O'Hare in Midway. She doesn't close the airports. She keeps them open for 3 weeks. And 5 months later, she's closing businesses, at random, like she's, like she's a dictator. And Governor Pritzker doing the same thing, and blaming Trump when all the while I think a huge spread towards Chicago was indeed O'Hare Airport. But let me ask you a question. It says here on the screen that you are an executive with a cellular company. How is COVID? What did you do with your company if you were in position to do this? What did you do as of right now or in the months prior to deal with COVID? Are you have employees working at home, your stores? I mean, give us a laydown of what an executive is dealing with as far as COVID.
Yeah, for all the right reasons, I'm not at liberty to give my company name, but I
Of
will
course
tell
not.
you
No,
that
I understand.
I believe we've handled it flawlessly. Obviously, we serve the general public, and we do it very safely. All of our employees that do work on the front lines have to take a health assessment test at the beginning of their shift and then midday. Obviously, COVID or no COVID, if you're sick, stay home. Nobody wants to be working next to somebody that's sick. Stay home. And so we handled it really well, took really good care of the employees, continue to do so. And, we're still seeing cases, of course. And guess what? They go home, they get better, they come back to work when they're clear and symptom-free.
Do your employees,
are
your employees working from home? Are your employees working from home?
The offices are, the office worker people, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, here's the $1 million question. Yeah, here's the $1 million question. What do you think is going to happen to retail office space? My wife and I have this conversation, not doing a ha-ha, but like a foreboding, prognosticator of who is going to be renting office space anymore when basically companies are doing pretty good with people working from home. I mean, thank you for calling. I mean, you're the perfect person to answer this. Do you have any kind of a feeling of, I mean, is office space just going to go commercial real estate as far as the office sector going to just go by the way of the landline telephone? I mean, what can you enlighten us?
Well, I can enlighten you only with my opinion, right? And my opinion is this. I believe we are a society that thrives in a social atmosphere.
Yeah.
That being said, then the work from home gets old really quickly because people want that social interaction.
Yeah.
So I believe that we're going to get back to, obviously we've had a lot of learnings, right? With COVID, I believe everything has a purpose. So we had to be taught some things or retaught some things. But I think the world of interaction in an office setting is going to come back for sure. That's, again, my opinion. I don't have a crystal ball. And as far as retail, everybody shops differently. As long as the shoppers, the consumer, have choice, then retail is going to be fine. Is there a transformation that has to take place? Absolutely. But I believe there's still always going to be a general population that wants to go and browse and touch and feel and try on and interact before they make their purchase decision.
Can I ask you a question? What tree did you fall out of? You're like an awesome guest. Okay.
Well,
awesome.
Thank you for the platform.
We appreciate it. I wrote down something. One last question. Do we have to be really, really worried about 5G when it rolls out in complete? Well, I mean, is it? Go ahead.
In what aspect worried?
Is this powerful cellular network, global network, have such electronic interference that possible transformation of our cells or even our brains. I'm not talking tinfoil hat here. I'm just saying, is 5G been tested enough where cellular executives are confident that we shouldn't have anything to worry about?
I'm not an engineer by trade,
Okay.
but I will tell you that, I'll say hashtag fake news. How about that?
Okay, fair enough.
I'll say
Paul,
that, networks transform. They give you blazing fast, speeds.
Sure.
You get to down, look, we're all living on it, right? We have been for over a decade now.
Yeah, I told somebody, I said, wait a minute.
I want to.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I told somebody, I said, wait a minute, you don't want 5G. I can't download, the movie Slapshot on my iPhone.
Right.
And you want this network that we have now to help us with driverless cars? I mean, I agree with you. Paula, thank you so much for calling in. You blew my mind. What a great guest. Take care. And thank you for being a viewer of Truthbusters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We are just about out of time here. And I really, truly, I don't know what to tell or what to say at this point. I know that we are living in a time in America like we have seen no other. And that whether or not you like a candidate or not, whether or not you believe in the views or the platforms of one said candidate over another, there is no excuse and there is no reason to literally trample on one of the precepts of this country and one of the reasons why this country is literally the best country in the history of this world. And that is our press and our media. Do they have warts? Of course. Have they been wrong? Yes. Have they gotten the wrong story and the wrong man or the wrong woman? Of course. But if we cannot, as citizens of this country, depend on objective reporting from our media, I'm not talking the editorial board. We cannot turn on the TV, pick up the newspaper, pick up our phone, and expect the most honest reporting where facts are researched, where we have not one but two sources to a story, then we are truly living in the times of 1984 George Orwell's story. And if that is indeed the case, then as a father, as a businessman, as a former politician, and as a podcast host, I am truly, truly terrified for the future. Whatever happens next Tuesday, whether Trump takes a second term or whether weekend at Biden's Joe Biden takes the stage to lead the most powerful country in the history of the world, is up to us, the viewers and the voters. I hope we choose well. I hope we do well. And whatever the case, whatever the choice, whatever the outcome, I sincerely hope that this country remembers we are not Democrats, we are not Republicans, libertarians, conservatives, Greens, independents. At the end of the day, you are my brother, you are my sister. We are all Americans. I'm Jon Stewart. Thank you for joining us on Truthbusters Live. Check us out on Spotify, Apple, on YouTube. Hit the like button. Please subscribe. Go to our merchandise store. Buy something so we can keep the lights on and pay bills. We will see you next Thursday night for a post-election show. Good luck. God bless you. And thank you for joining us. Thank you.